So a while back we were talking about the teachings of the winged disc, and the last segment that we had done on that was about God and the essence of that personified positivity that we manifest out in the world and then give an icon to. But our analysis would be incomplete if we didn't also analyze the nature of Satan, or this devil, which seems to, according to our worldview as is held contemporarily, standing behind every corner, seeking to entrap the souls of men. So what does the teachings of the winged disc say about this person we call Satan? Well, Satan is a god in the essence of a generic term, but it is basically the god that people hate. Each person builds their own Satan. It is basically the force that keeps the ignorant bound to each other, and anything that threatens that bond out of ignorance is labeled evil. People fear and even hate liberation and truth when it threatens their egos. For the ignorant, it is easier to shriek and condemn truth rather to confront those inevitable forces that will expose their own devilishness. It is actually harder to acknowledge one's darker self or shadow self than it is to conquer and transform it. So ego creates this avoidance that few realize, that each person is born imperfect due to that genetic integrity, the ego. The person who teaches the acknowledgement of truth and liberation may in fact become an object of hate by the ignorant. Any object, idea, person, etc. that people hate is decreed and judged to be not good, to be evil, clinically to become a Satan. The perpetrator of fraud is always right, or so he believes. He rationalizes all of those actions, calling them good or God's work. He defames anyone or anything that is not understood by the exact definitions of his program. And since he does not consider the possibility that he could be wrong, he must be good, and therefore, all others evil. We see this even among those that are considered right-wing or religious, holy, spiritual, what have you. This rationale has gotten the world into some serious trouble. Hitler feared that those who might be threatening his race would do so he murdered them. And so did the Christians who killed the growing threat of paganism, and even after the donation of the Roman Empire, turned the sword on their own people in the form of the Crusades against the Cathars and the Templars and the Albigensians. So when a person devotes their life energy in pursuit of a desired goal, that essentially becomes their God, their focus. When they become so obsessed with it as an end result that it usurps them and possesses them, well, it is anti-God. It becomes their Satan, like money. For example, also, when your lover admires another's attributes, you may demean that person by defaming those attributes. Thus, your alleged goodness oppresses that person's no goodness. You become right, that other person thus becomes bad, wrong, Satan, and, could be called more socially acceptable terms, of course. So, in essence, Satan is a force created by man, by the human consciousness. In reality, one can unite with or defy God by one's relationship to the mechanics of the universe. Satan is the force which separates man from God. So truth, freedom from illusion, can eliminate this separative force. According to ancient texts, this new eon, this new age, the Messiah of this eon will not be any exterior circumstance or event. It is a collective group consciousness that will be based on perfecting the self. In order for liberation to occur, the attachments and weaknesses of the lower part of the self must be overcome. This is a stage, a phase, a level, a step that many are currently dealing with. But truth is divine, and when a person overcomes this restrictive force, that true understanding brings him or her closer to wisdom. And then the rebellion of the ego occurs to maintain its hold, and that will form, and one has to seek liberation from the unnatural and these mortal obstacles so that they can understand and maintain control over the falseness of the ego. So individuality is fundamental to this era. Liberation is the theme, and there can be no more concrete group followings the way they have served in the past. Or the organizations, the social construction of this so-called underground secret society type thing is quickly changing. And separately, all people will seek enlightenment until this unit of individual perfection of the human race is complete, whether that be by simply personal consciousness upgrades or perhaps some other form of genetic upgrade. But this is in fact why so many new spiritual groups are emerging today. So the ego is not destroyed in this process, but becomes subordinate to the higher self. The taming of the ego is only taught by those enlightened ones who have already learned to reconcile and master it. And they must be free of their hang-ups that their students are trying to conquer. And these teachers certainly appear when those are ready, and in most cases man is not capable of educating himself.